Welcome to the Dental Implant Practices podcast, where each episode will explore how to integrate dental implants into your practice and into bone, with your host, Dr. Philip Gordon.
Welcome back to another episode of the Dental Implant Practices podcast. I'm your host, Philip Gordon, and today I've got Dr. Akil Alexander on the show. Akil, thanks for being on the show with me.
Yeah, thanks for having me, Phil.
Yeah, we've never actually met, and I'm hoping to do that soon, but we know a lot of similar people, and I've seen you on the web doing some awesome stuff and heard some great things about you, so I wanted to give you a call, introduce myself, and introduce the listeners to who you are and what you're doing. So thanks for taking some time, and hopefully we can share some fun stuff about implant dentistry.
Yeah, it's likewise, man. You know, it's so funny that we haven't actually met, but I feel like you're already a brother, you know? And that's the thing with social media. It's like, you know, you see all these guys that you're like, wow, look at what he's doing. Look at what she's doing. And it really closes the gap between, you know, just having that camaraderie and that social network that you can share and bounce ideas off of, especially like ours, you know, in implant dentistry that's continuing to evolve every single day. I mean, honestly, it can be sometimes a little bit overwhelming with the advances that we're making and the strides that we're doing on and the things that you see on social media, but it's inspiring, man. I mean, a big part of my inspiration to even get into full arch dentistry, you know, came about through seeing some stuff that my mentors were doing, you know, after a journey that I had with a maxi course, and people were like, hey, look at this, check this guy out, look what he's doing, look at the results that they're getting and how they're changing lives. And I was like, man, that is inspirational. I mean, that really gets you out of the, you know, the box mentality where you're stuck in this office and you just, you know, your face is down with a handpiece and you're just grinding away, you know? So I've been looking forward to meeting you for some time. And I know we're both linked in the Implant Pathways program out in Arizona with Dr. Moody's course. And we keep missing each other, but I've been following you on the social media and on the podcast. So it's a true honor to be here with you today and kind of just talk about some of the stuff that we're doing.
Yeah, absolutely. And like you're saying, I think it's great. You know, there's some really fun people out there on the internet, on Facebook, talking implants. There's some you know, other people out there too. But you know, I try to connect with the people that I think, you know, like you were learning and sharing and growing and kind of spreading the knowledge, because like you said, it's an ever changing game with the technology and the surgical advancements and the products and all that. You know, it's not like you just go to the annual meeting, you know, sit in on a couple CE events and you're there. It's like I'm learning. Yeah, I'm learning and growing all the time. Like each week, it's something new, and
every day. Yeah,
which is, you know, like you said, kind of startling, but also fun. And but yeah, so let's dive in. I want to learn a little bit more about you. You know, I'm in Kansas City. You're up in the Minneapolis area. Why don't you kind of tell me, you know, maybe where you're from, how you got through dental school, and then kind of just start from there, and we can kind of take place a little bit. I'd love to learn a little bit about your story.
Yeah, I mean, we're going back about, you know, 12, 13, 15 years now. And I'm originally from an island in the Caribbean called Trinidad and Tobago, and some of the listeners might probably hear a little bit of an accent coming out. But, you know, when I was younger, you know, I was one of those patients that grew up in a culture where dental care was not really much of a right. You know, it was not like here in the United States where, you know, your insurance is going to pay for some of the work that you're going to have done, especially with pediatric care and preventative care. And so my journey began as a patient, and I went to see this orthodontist with my grandmother. And I remember after the exam, the orthodontist was like, hey, you know, this is our treatment plan and this is how much it's going to cost. And, you know, I just remember turning around and seeing my grandmother's face and just like the tears coming down her eyes. And at the time, I think I was 9 or 10 years old, and I just really didn't understand like what was going on. And so that orthodontist, her name is Gwen Lucci-Lip, and she's in Port of Spain of Trinidad and Tobago. She decided to take my case on pro bono, and, you know, long before you know, I'm her patient. And every time I would go into the dental office, she's just pouring out positivity and like pouring out just life into me and speaking life and saying, hey, Akil, you know, you're really intelligent. Hey, you can do anything that you set your mind to. You can do what I do. And, you know, becoming her patient and finishing treatment, I had the opportunity to see patients come in with their head tilted down and the feeling of just like no confidence and depression, and then seeing them leave after treatment was completed with the biggest smile on their face, and all of a sudden they're coming into the office wearing a suit and saying, "Hey doc, I just got a job," or "Hey doc, I just got engaged," and seeing that life transformation happen before our very eyes. And I was like, man, like that's so powerful, man. That's what I want to do with my life. And so then she had an oral surgeon that she would work with orthognathic cases, and he also went to the same school that she did. And I visited his office for probably about 2 days. And he showed me these before and after pictures of like really crazy, like squamous cell carcinoma cases and before and after resections and neck dissections. And I was like, wow, man. I just started asking him all these like really technical questions. And he took a step back and he said, "Hey man, like, you're not freaked out by this?" And I was like, yeah, this is super cool. And I'm asking these questions about flap design and suture technique and all this stuff. And I'm probably 13 years old at the time. And he was like, "Hey, you might want to do this." So I looked at the school that they both went to, and they were classmates, and it was Howard University in Washington, D.C. And I said, "Hey, well, that's what I'm going to go do." They both came from the same school. They're changing lives. Like, this is the place that I need to be. So I applied. And I got in to this accelerated dental program. I don't know if they still have those these days, but basically you do like 2 years of undergrad and get your prereqs, take your dental exam, and you start your dental school. And after the second year of dental school, you get your undergrad degree. So I did that and graduated from dental school. I remember, my last year of dental school, kind of wondering, if I wanted to do endo, and we were one of the first classes to get the rotary endodontic unit, and I was like really stoked about that, and doing my first molar in like maybe under half an hour. And it's just like, man, this stuff is cool. But then I had a chance to shadow the oral surgery department and drop one of my first implants, and that's when I kind of knew, man, I need to do surgery. So after I graduated, I ended up in Minnesota at an advanced surgical program. And after I got out of residency there, I started working for a couple of various DSOs doing general dentistry and a combination of surgery. And I just really remember just not feeling like I was making a difference. It's more kind of like the drill and fill production line type environment. And being an associate, you're like, well, I want to get my speed up. I want to see different treatment scenarios so I can build my treatment planning skills up. But after a while, it drains you. And, after a while, you feel like you're just another cog in the wheel, so to speak. And, I had a friend. I'm so grateful to that guy who reached out to me and said, "Hey, I just left this company and I started working for another smaller DSO that focuses on tooth replacement. And it's called Affordable Dentures and Implants." And he said, "Hey man, I show up to work, it's not a stressful job. I get to build relationship with my patients, and, this might be something you might want to look into." And so I decided to shadow him for a day or two. And that's when I decided to make the jump and commit to that company. Well, it was an hour and a half from where I lived in Minneapolis. It was a little bit of a struggle at first, but, over the past 2 years, I've been really blessed to, I think we were just looking at the numbers a few weeks ago. We've seen, over maybe 8,000 patients with various issues that require tooth replacement or oral reconstruction. And I've been building relationship with those patients and just seeing how it's changed their lives. I'd never look back. This is where I need to be. And it's a real shame too, because in dental school, I don't know if we really knew that oral implantology was a subspecialty in dentistry. I don't think anybody really spoke about that. It was endo, perio, pros, and then you had surgery, but oral implantology was not something that we were really exposed to. So it's been a long journey, but I've found the place that, really makes me happy, and I feel like I'm making a difference. And, it's such a challenging but rewarding field that's continually evolving. And, you push yourself, you have to continue to push yourself and learn and expose yourself. You can't be reserved. You have to dig deep and try new things and adopt new techniques and take CE and just continue to evolve. And so it's a field that is internally gratifying to me, and I'm really grateful to be a part of.
Yeah, that's a great story. I agree with you that when you're in school, it's like it's like kind of, they hide the implants from you. They like don't even acknowledge its existence, and really don't give the GPs much exposure to that. And then you get out, and maybe you find your passion for surgery later, and then you kind of have to go back and get your training outside of dental school, sort of speak. What training after school? I know you eventually found up with the affordable dentures and implants, but what other training did you seek after your residency? You thought, oh, okay, this is implantology, neurosurgery is what I want to do. Here's where my passion is. I've been able to land this job where I can focus on it. Where did you go next for there? Did you find any like the AAID or the ISOI or?
Yeah, so that is exactly. That's a really good point to clarify too, because after, getting your hands wet with, implants and restoring implants, you really understand that there's so many fundamental and technical aspects of the restorative part of the deal. It's not just surgery. And there's so many principles that drive success. And so I realized really frequently the more volume of implants that I did, and seeing inconsistent results, I realized that I needed to brush up on not just the surgery, but the pros. And a big part of that for me was getting exposed to the AAID, the American Academy of Implant Dentistry, and taking one of their Maxi courses. I took a Maxi course last year in Chicago that really stressed on the fundamentals. And actually, that's how I met, some of my friends now, Frank Caputo and, Alex Silver and Adam Folick and all those guys that were involved with the Maxi course, who were, really great mentors, Bart Silverman. And, it's all about the journey and just really digging deep into the fundamentals, the history of implant dentistry, the evolution of the techniques, the research behind the techniques. It just really allowed me to make what I was already doing more predictable in terms of the results. And I'm very grateful for that experience. And now, being a part of the AAID as one of their affiliate members, I just took my exam last year. All you guys are pushing me to do, to continue that journey. And I think it's worthwhile, going to the meetings is fine, but also becoming credentialed, I think, is such an important part of what we do, especially in the changing landscape with, what we're doing as GPs, which sort of encroaches on the realm of specialty care, and oral implantology being recognized as a specialty in its own right. That's a journey that I think you're also on the same path, right? You're working towards your fellowship. Yeah.
No, I agree. I think, it's hugely important to go after credentialing, but I think, like you said, you kind of have to learn where it's at and what the credentials are. And, the AAID has been very instrumental for me. I love the organization and the people there. Like yourself, I took a Maxi course and, met some great people, really exposed me to a very wide and depth background of knowledge and experience and mentors, and then became credentialed with them. And now I'm going to be sitting for my ABOI this spring. So another journey and another milestone ahead. But I think, like you were saying, it's important to do if this is the field that you spend most of your time doing and the passion's there. It's not an easy deal, but nothing worthwhile is. And I think those two institutes do a really good job.
Yeah, I agree. And just to get involved with the district community too. I mean, some of my closest friends today I met at that Maxi course. And I still fly the weekends in Chicago and hang out with them and catch up with them and where they are in their careers, and just share stories. And it's just such a great place to be. And I encourage anybody who's listening, if you haven't done a Maxi course or some sort of continuum that's comprehensive, I strongly encourage you to do it. If you see yourself placing implants or being involved in implant dentistry as part of your career life, I think it's well worth an investment in your long-term success. And your patients are definitely going to benefit from it as well.
Yeah, absolutely. I've met some of my closest friends at the Maxi course, and then, my involvement with the AID is really important to me, and, the hope that it keeps getting better and better. So I know you said you joined with the Affordable Dentures and Implants group. Kind of tell me about your journey with them and how you got into that and what that's been like for you.
Yeah. So, and then you had a question about really the way that relationship is framed, right?
Well,
and
yeah,
I think that's a question.
Yeah,
that's a question that a lot of folks don't really have a lot of clarity on, and I think the company can maybe shed a little bit more light on that with their advertising. So when I first heard about the company, Affordable Dentures and Implants, I was not really sure what to think of it. I wasn't sure if it was a denture mill or if it was, just a place that, you place implants, there's no follow-up care. But I had the chance to shadow a doctor here, Dr. Kevin Hilton. And the model is really centered around tooth replacement, which is comprehensive tooth replacement. So that includes all manners of removable pros, fixed pros. Some practices even do crown and bridge, and dental implants and oral reconstruction. They're not a franchise, so that's something that you had a question about. But they're individually owned, doctor-owned private practices. And I think a good way to frame it is that we all fly under the umbrella of affordable care for various reasons. I mean, why would a doctor out of a program or dental school want to join this company? Well, it's because the company really believes in providing the very best oral tooth replacement options for patients at the most affordable prices and the most affordable cost. Because as you know, Phil, especially somebody who does full arch, there are a great percentage of the population that just don't have access to this life-changing treatment because of the financial barrier that's in place. And that actually opens up a little bit of a passion of mine because of my background. And so one of my missions as a provider is to find ways to get these patients the care that they need and so rightfully deserve, that's well within their financial means. And so that was one of the things that really drew me towards the company. It was their passion for patients. And that's something that really, in my opinion and my experience, it really has been missing from a lot of traditional DSOs. And so being a practice owner affords you the autonomy to treatment plan, diagnose, and treat the way you see fit based on your training. And so no two affordable denture and implant practices are alike. I think each practice takes on the personality and the heart and the vision and the mission of the practice owner, which is true for any private practice. But we have the advantage of having the expertise of a company that has been in this business for so long that knows the ins and outs of marketing, payroll, accounting, hiring, any other services that you would need as a growing practice and private practice. It's all under their umbrella of services that they can provide to you. So it's been really comfortable for me as a practice owner because then it allows me to focus on what really matters to me, which is the patient care and getting quality results and building the practice and building those relationships without the headache of, leaving home and worrying about the business. And, as a practice owner, I still have 100% oversight on every aspect of the business, but it's a relationship that we have with affordable care that is, it's a partnership, so they're definitely interested and invested in my success and my growth, both as a provider, but as a business owner. And they've been really, really helpful so far in helping to grow my practice to what it is now.
Yeah, excellent. Yeah, and I think that's, like you said, I think each practice takes on the persona of, the doc as they implement their kind of footprint on what things are and their personality and what they want to do and become. So you do really well at your clinic as far as getting your patients in implants, and there might be some other clinics that just do more dentures. Why do you feel like you've had such good success? I mean, some people have to have the right clinical skills, but I think you also have to have the right personality, and then you have to have the right team around you. So what is it that you found have been some success principles that you feel that you've been able to be maybe one of Affordable's better offices and really, really kind of do more than just your basic denture services?
Yeah, it's funny that you asked that because I happened to review my Facebook profile like a couple of hours ago, and I saw that you posted. I think it was like a question of how is everybody marketing their practice and marketing full arch, and how are you getting patients through the door and getting the conversions done? And I think you're looking for like a recommendation on a good company to partner with to do that. For us, I do agree with you. I think a big part of any practice that is implant centered or dental implant centered, but needs to grow, a big part of that comes from the doctor. It really starts with you building the framework of the culture that you want to have in your practice. And it's funny because when I first bought my practice, the signage on the door and in the mall in the area that we have just said affordable dentures. So that in itself was a challenge from the local marketing side. So because people are coming to me just for dentures, right? And and the demographic of the patients that we're seeing are older individuals who've taken care of their families and sacrificed to put their kids and grandkids through college and school, and now they're getting older and focusing on retirement and their quality of life. And they realize very quickly that, hey, my ability to eat, my ability to smile, and head down to the Legion and just hang with the boys and be able to eat some nuts. Those are the things that bring me joy, and I can't do that right now because I have these old fitting dentures that I've had for the past 20, 30 years.
Sure.
Right.
Yeah.
So for me, I think a big part of actually one of the best pieces of advice that I got from one of my mentors about 6 years ago was in your treatment planning sessions. We're trained from dental school to start with the mouth, right? So we take the blood pressure, you get the patient back, open them up and take a look at the x-rays and you start diagnosing what conditions that you're seeing. But I think a big part of that advice was, hey, before you even take a look in the mouth, focus on the extra oral side of things and not just like the exterior of the oral cavity, but the patient themselves. Take a zoom out. And who is this person that's come into your office? What brought them here? What's going on in their personal life? And what motivated them to even get out of their house and go to this place that traditionally has been a place that is associated with fear and a lot of distrust, which is the dental office, to change their life. And for me, that's the first thing that everyone on my team is really trained to do is not just build a relationship and say, hey, how are you going? What brought you to see us today? It's really getting to know them and, what do they like? And so some of the questions I ask is like, hey, tell me about your life. What do you enjoy doing? How active are you? Are you out and about? Are you socializing a lot? Are you a public speaker? Is aesthetics something that's important to you? What do you like to eat? Many people will tell you, hey, I love my meat and, my nuts and my pizza and all that stuff. And the truth of the matter is, well, you can't do that with these old dentures that you've had for so long. And so all of these things that they're telling me, I'm recording this information and I'm using this to build a profile of that patient. And from that profile, I can basically say, hey, Phil, I know you're a pretty active guy. You love to golf and you like to do some private speaking on the side and you like your top sirloin. But I got to be honest with you. And I got to tell you the same thing I'll tell my pop. This is not something you can do with dentures. I'm just being honest with you. And so, fortunately for you, this is one option for you, but it's not the only option. There's a much better treatment that's suited to you and your lifestyle that could potentially elevate your standard of living, and I think that's really where you hit the home runs, because you tie in the treatment and the value of the treatment and how it can change your life to their particular circumstance. So it's really not selling. It's really not hiring a company to come out there and advertise, hey, full arch for, $20,000, $5,000 less than the guy down the street. It's building that reputation word to mouth. Like, hey, I used to struggle with the same thing, guys. And, I went to this dentist, and, now I got those implants, those things, the pegs that they put in the mouth, and now I can eat it again, And that has really been what has made me successful in this area is building that relationship with those patients. And a lot of it was word to mouth. We have the added benefit of being next to a major hospital, Mayo Hospital, but the problem with that too is not just the time it takes for those patients to get into the hospital for implants or reconstruction, but it's also a big part of the cost. So now we're even getting referrals from the hospital because patients have said, hey, my friend down the road has got these really good teeth, and they're fixing his mouth and he doesn't have to take them out and they don't stain. Can you give me a referral to see that place?
Nice. Yeah.
So it's been a really evolving, growing practice. I feel like sometimes it's my kid, and watching my kid, start to walk and being that proud dad. It's like, okay, how do we start getting you to read some books now and starting to be more productive and get your numbers up and good grades and all that stuff? So I think that's a big part of it, Phil. I think it's your heart. And I think any dentist that I've spoken to, will tell you the same thing. It really starts with getting to know your patients and figuring out, what are they really here for,
Mm-hmm. Yeah. What are their real problems? What's really holding them back? And then, how you can help give them what they're looking for through the dentistry you provide. But like you said, it starts with listening to them and sitting those knee conversations and getting real with people. And then let's go take the scan and look in the mouth next. But I think, like you said, if patients know you care, I think that's the first place. And taking the time and listening to them, and it's great that you can do that, because that's, you want dentistry. It's a very relationship based deal. I mean, it's not a true commodity. I'm not selling you goods. I'm selling you services, and those services are very intimate. We're working on people's faces and their smiles. So you want to have that relationship, and like you said, it all starts with that. So that's great. You've been able to find that niche and been able to really develop that and take that off.
And then you talk about relationship, but then social media now has changed the game. And it really has become such an important tool to reach those patients and get those stories across about how they don't have to suffer through what they're going through. It's optional at this point. Hey, this person had this result, and I know this person, they're not necessarily well off or anything. So social media has really been something that I really have just started to get into. And I think as a marketing tool, it is, it's definitely affordable. And I think it's very powerful too. Especially with the Instagram and the Google metrics and Facebook and all this stuff. You'd be remiss to not participate in some of that if you're trying to grow your business and your practice.
Yeah, no, I think, but you got to have the right environment. You got to have the right team. You got to hit the home runs for your patients. So, you got to deliver the goods first. But then, the way that we share that message now, it's much more different than, you just send home a happy customer and hope people would find out about it. Now it's okay. Are we taking video testimonials? Are we sharing those? How do we, take before and after photos? So, there's a lot that goes into it. But then, how do you propagate and how do you spread that and, like a virus and get the word out there?
Right.
That's the big thing. What else are you starting to, to dabble with or change lately, or what are some technological things that have caught your eye? What kind of implant systems are you using? What type of imaging? What kind of laboratory? Or Are you doing any guided cases? Do you have any digital workflows you're tinkering with? What's on the forefront of what you're doing right now?
So that really kind of segues into a problem that I've identified with our practice, and I dare to say, maybe even the greater model of our practice environment, and that is how do we find a way to not exclude really deserving patients from accessing the benefits of full arch implant restorations. And I should clarify, fixed restorations. And so, like the name suggests, a big part of our business is removable implant-supported prosthetics, right? And so, in some circumstances, that may not be the best treatment option for that patient. And usually, those patients are sort of guided into that solution, either because they're limited with their finances or, their credit or whatever it is. But I truly believe that moving forward, I think each one of us, we have a responsibility to start thinking about how do we provide, quote unquote, full arch for all, because it's such a game changer in what we've been doing in dentistry for the past millennia, you can walk into an office with really decayed teeth and really, different pathologies, walk out of that office the same day with a full arch restoration. I mean, it sounds like, when I'm saying it now, it kind of sounds like sci-fi, and so now that we're, in the industry, we're shifting towards digital workflows and new breakthroughs in CAD/CAM. We're finding ways to work with these evolving materials to bring the production and design costs down significantly for the providers. And the patients really should be able to benefit from those advances and cost reduction. And so in our model, this is something that I'm committed to for the next year. And that's why I'm excited for 2020, because a lot of what we do traditionally in the fixed market has been wrapped acrylics on metal substructure. And as you know, the issues with that, they just don't hold up very well in the long term,
Sure. Yeah.
You have the issues with teeth popping off, and you have the issues with, staining and over time reduced vertical dimension of occlusion and poor aesthetics and just the repairability and the time that it takes from the practice to repair these. And for us, all of our practices are outfitted with in-house labs that are able to do these repairs most times within 24 to 48 hours, but it's still, the material has its limitations. And I just don't think moving forward with all the different materials and advances we've had, that's going to be the standard for our patients moving forward. So I've been starting to look into different materials and different solutions. And I know you've been doing some full arch zirconia, and I definitely want to get your opinion on if you think that's going to be the go-to prosthetic for full arch. But I've started looking at some other materials like the nanoceramics and the millable substructures,
like the pectin
PMMA or
PMMA,
or pectin or Trialor or Trinia, because I think the cost to produce these products, they're significantly less now, and their long-term stability has shown to be pretty good. I'm seeing some pretty good outcomes on some of the articles that are coming out long-term. These materials haven't really been out there for more than 4 or 5 years, but the results look promising. And the thing that really gets me excited is with the milling and the 3D printing, you can really take the opportunity to prototype these restorations in the short term and refine them to such a degree that you're comfortable with that being sort of like a long-term provisional restoration that's functional. And so the patients are walking out of the office with these nanoceramic full arch provisionals or PMMA, and they're eating with it. They're comfortable with it. They're happy with the aesthetics, because you can overlay the composites over that and make it look really beautiful, high-end finish. But they're comfortable with them. And so that becomes your confirmed prototype that has your bite, your vertical dimension of occlusion, your implant positions, your verification jig. And then you can just take that digital file and produce your final restoration, whether it's zirconia or, nanoceramic. And this game changer, you can do that with the click of a button. And I think that's where I see my office headed next year. And it was funny. I was just over at the Straumann Neodent conference in Arizona. I don't know if you were there.
I was going to actually go to that, but I was out there teaching a pathway clinic the same weekend. I thought, well, I'll head over there Friday afterwards, and didn't do it. And then, we've got 4 kids at home, and my wife's like, "Oh, you need to get home." So I moved up my flight earlier and came home after pathway was done. But I was definitely gonna go to that, but timing of it just
it was exciting. It was the first time that I got exposed to the Zircon Zon system with the Face Hunter and the Plane Finder, where you can actually take, from the data acquisition side, you're taking facial scans and photos, and able to articulate the maxilla and mandibular cast in 3D, in the computer and in the digital articulator without doing any sort of face or anything like that. And designing the occlusion and milling it and printing it right away. I thought it was so great. I mean, and that's we spend so much time in the practices, taking these impressions and face pose and all that stuff. And, if it's off by a little bit, then you got to do another try-in, try to get the midline right and all this stuff. But when you can make these adjustments, digitally,
yeah.
Overlaying the patient's face and animation and seeing how they look and smile and repose, shifting the midline over. And who cares if you have to print another PMMA? The thing costs $20, $30, and you can print one in an hour and under. The significant cost that you save in lab bills and like having, your lab guy wax it and having the patient come back in multiple times. It's just an issue that it affects our productivity and efficiency in my office. And so I really want to shift away from that next year. So I'm looking at investing in some of these technologies. And I know you also started doing the same. I think you just got a mill, right?
Yeah. We just started doing some in-office lab work ourselves. So it's been exciting. Yeah, I'm excited about the facial recognitions, the 3D scanning and all that. We're not quite there to the facial recognitions, but we've got an intraoral scanner, a desktop scanner. We've got a 3D printer now. We've got a mill where we can mill full arch restorations. Down to singles. We can mill titanium. We can mill Emax. We can mill zirconia, which we do a lot of, and PMMA. So, but like you said, it's just taking those turnaround times. It's making them shorter. It's not putting something in a box and shipping it off to somebody. It's handing something to, somebody in your office who saw the patient, who's there firsthand to help make these restorations just right. So the technologies, it's such rapidly advancing. It's not taking jobs away from the dental industry, but it's just making our jobs maybe more profound so that we can deliver better, faster, cheaper results to our patients. And like you said, that kickback can go to them. It can be more affordable care. It can be doing more cases. It can be, it can be a lot of things, but it can also be, time to teeth can be faster. Like you said, the materials that we're using, I don't do acrylic over bars anymore because, like you said, they stain, they chip, they break. So for me, zirconia makes a lot more sense, but traditionally had been much more expensive. So, the cost of those are coming down. The way we deliver care is changing. And so, technology, surgical skills, those are big players in the field. And I think, if you continue to invest in each of those, in your skills, and in your, your workflows, hopefully good things continue to come to follow that.
Right, right. What's been your experience with your long-term outlooks with the full arch zirconia?
It's been pretty outstanding. I've done a fair amount of overdentures, and those I use a metal reinforced denture. But obviously, it's just acrylic and teeth, so those stain and wear. I've been super pleased with the zirconia. I've got some cases that are out 5 to 6 years now, and I've been super pleased with it. I think
what type of zirconia are you using?
I'm using monolithic. I'm not doing any cutbacks or any fancy Emax crowns added to it. I'm just doing monolithic zirconia because really nowadays with the staining and glazing, you can really make it look spectacular.
Are you doing that? Are you doing that in-house at the green stage?
We are just starting that right now, so I don't have
That's
anything
phenomenal.
for you on that. Yeah, we're just getting our first couple sets milled this week, so we're still learning right now. But I've been using some good labs. I've been using Pro Smiles a lot up there in South Dakota,
Right.
and they're able to deliver a monolithic zirconia that looks amazing. So for
Wow.
me, the cost of a titanium, not being able to make that in my office before, the costs, we're getting to the point where they're about equal. So I thought, well, why am I going to get a titanium bar and wrap acrylic around it if I can place 6 implants and the lab restoration costs the same? I want to give them zirconia.
Right.
So that was the shift for me. And now that we're bringing it in house, hopefully like you said, the time to teeth and the cost can go down even more. So that was really the goal of bringing some of these procedures in. It wasn't to cut corners or to save a buck. It was really, how can I keep my lab fee down so that I can deliver better results in a faster time with less office visits and not keep raising my fees so that I can be competitive enough to get patients into care.
Exactly. And then you have more control over the quality as well and the finish,
Absolutely. Yes.
That's phenomenal, man. And the problem with the metal and the hybrid acrylic wrapped is that there's no chemical bond to that titanium. With the zirconia, it's one monolithic material that has a pretty high flexural strength. And now that it's crazy how translucent and how aesthetic these zirconia pucks are coming out that are multi-layered and gradiated. It's crazy how fast the materials are changing too,
Yeah, because even 5 years ago, I think monolithic zirconia was noticeably just not going to get it done, aesthetically.
It was not natural looking at all.
Yeah, and nowadays, boy, you can really, it's not as good as Emax, but it can be darn close, I think, if you do it right. And so most of my
a big part of the characteristics is the manual touches that you're making. It's still not digital. It's the manual touches you're taking at the green stage.
Sure, absolutely.
The staining, the dyeing, and the contouring of the line angles. That's really where the masterpiece, comes out.
Yeah, there's a lot more art form now. So it's like, okay, we've raised the bar of the material, true, but I think we understand the ability to stain and glaze it significantly higher. So we've got better staining glazed porcelains on top. We've got better finishing processes. And so we know so much more now about how to set these cases up aesthetically and functionally. Now that hundreds of thousands of them have been done over the past 10 years. With big institutions like Clear Choice and other places, cranking them out. We've the learning curve's there. Now it's how can we just make it a smoother process for the patient, right? How can I make this as tolerable for the patient and economically feasible to where we're all still winning? And that's the goal for me. Like you said, keeping my quality high, keeping my cost fair, and delivering care that I'm proud about and my patients feel good with. And I think the technology is what's closing that gap, I think. And in addition to all these higher education of implant training places we have now, I think I graduated dental school over 10 years ago. If you're a GP, your places to go learn and place implants was very few, and I think nowadays it's like almost limitless. So I think that's been a big game changer too.
but what you're not seeing a lot of is the courses that are talking about how to CAD/CAM design these restorations and really characterize the restorations. That is something that I've really been trying to find, not just for me, but for my team, because you want to train your team to be able to do these things in-house like you're doing. But I haven't really seen a very comprehensive curriculum, at least with the basics. The thing about it is like there's so many different workflows and techniques that are different and that sometimes are even manufacturer specific, that it's hard to find like a full arch CAD/CAM university type thing. Have you had luck finding anything like that?
Nothing too great. No, I think there's some out there that kind of piecemeal some stuff and give you a little this and a little that. But no, I think that's kind of been what I've been searching for me and my lab technician both. And I think, like you said, some of it's very niche specific. Oh, this only works with the zircons on, or this only works with GC or whatever. But yeah, no, I think that's coming. I'm going to be, if I can't put something together like that, I'm going to try to find it. But that's kind of my goal for 2020 is to help bring something like that together at some point for a meeting educational piece, because I think, okay, if I can find the best guy that knows about designing, and if I can find the best guy that knows about milling, and if I can find the best guy that knows about stain and glaze, and if I can find the best guy that knows about X, Y, and Z with things I don't even know about yet, that's probably something that I want to try to wrangle together and kind of host maybe for my conference next year. Is like, how can I help put these pieces together? Because I know, like you were saying, I'm not the only one out there looking for this, trying to put these pieces together. I know there's people out there like you and me trying to like, okay, figure out where are we at? Where's this at? How can I put these pieces together?
Right. We're trying to put the workflows together that work for us, but somebody already out there is probably, discovered, they're two steps down the line. They've already figured out some of the issues that we're going to have. So that's one of the things with social media I've been reaching out to. I mean, like you said, there are no comprehensive courses, but I know there's some guys out there that are doing some online and CE courses like Nate Farley and Ken Howell. They have the Digital Dentures course. Avident has their stuff. There's even a CAD/CAM ExoCAD university in Brazil that does some really good stuff that I would love to go to. But again, it's, taking the time to come out of your practice, and, it's a lot of lost revenue. And, with me, we're such a high volume practice that if I'm not in the office, a lot of patients are not getting the care that they need. So it's a little bit hard to travel that far, but I'd love to see something like that.
What do you have lined up in 2020 for education? What, where do you go for those kind of things? And, what's that work-life balance look like for you? Because I know, this profession, it gives a lot, but it takes a lot too. So what do you look at for education? And then how do you find the balance with not just taking CE trips, but also some vacation here and there?
Yeah, so that's so well said. Like it gives a lot and it takes a lot. And most of what it takes, usually is your time from your family or, your social life. And if you're at a practice like me, it's like your rest time,
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
And that's so important to us young providers, like not getting burnt out and feeling like the weight of the world is on your shoulders. And, you're thinking about this, even when you're outside the office. I think for me, that's a big shift that I need to do next year, is just the balancing side of things. And I've reached out to quite a few of my mentors and like, how do you have work-life balance right now? And I've had conversations with, Kyle Stanley, Dr. Kyle Stanley. Yeah. And so he and I think last year we started talking about that, and it's really important to, just balance. And it's something I think a lot of us take for granted. So for me, that's going to be a big part of it. But two is, how do I find, these courses that really are high yield and that are worth the time that you're taking out of the practice. So like you, next year, I'm going to be working on, my AID fellowship and then the ABOI. So there's a lot of prep courses that are available. I think one's next year is a review course. And then I think I'm trying to get with you too and some of the other guys on some of the study clubs to see if we can start getting prepared and get your ideas on some of the cases that I want to present. I'm always going to be involved with Implant Pathway Program, and they have some really exciting CE events coming up for next year. So that's going to be something that I definitely have to make time for. I just got an invitation to a zygoma course next year that's going to be in California with Dr. Amin. So that's something that I'm definitely going to make time for as well. I was so salty this weekend, just like opening up Instagram and getting some serious FOMO from DIA. I don't know if you were able to go to DIA, but
no, I didn't.
I would. Yeah, it looked phenomenal, man. One of the probably the best dental events this year, and I got to make time for that next year. I think it's going to be in Atlanta, but it's just a good time to meet guys like you, and just put a face to the name and kind of talk about ideas and learn from each other. I think that's been the best part of 2019 for me, is just having that education circle and social circle that we can just, text and talk about things, Skype, and just share ideas and workflows and outcomes. That has really made me a much stronger clinician, and even just hearing about courses too. So I'd love to even start putting together something like that next year as well. I have Affordable Cares also doing some initiatives next year with their big events. This year we had our Cure conference in Vegas, and a big part of that was some of the new 3D printing initiatives that are going to be out, in the years to come, and printing dentures and printing our provisionals and full art stuff with carbon 3D. So I don't know, man. It's every week you're hearing about another course.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, I can tell you it's a lot easier to go to a course than it is to put one on. So if you're thinking about putting one on, just give yourself some time, and it's a deal. It's like you said, it's important to try to set aside some time. You do have to do your professional development, but it's easy to work too much. So it is important to kind of be able to cut back and divide.
Well, how are you finding balance? I mean, you're doing that. You're doing the office. You're doing the podcast. You're doing the education side, and you got the family. Yeah. So how does that work?
Well, that's why I asked you. I'm not the best at it. It's now that I'm doing what I love most days. A lot of my practice is implant dentistry, and so now that I'm spending more of my time doing that, and my practice isn't brand new anymore, I'm at a position now where it's not as stressful. But I do find myself working maybe more than I should at times. So it's, you have to have people in your life that can pull you aside. My wife's pretty good at keeping me grounded and, being a great support system for me. But you do have to look at that and say, okay, I've got these personal goals. I've got these professional goals. I've got, you get into the family time, and, kids are only young for so long. It's a challenge, but, for me, the lines of work and play get, they kind of get blurry, because my work is my play sometimes. But I really enjoy teaching. Working at the Pathway Clinic is great because I really like to teach. So I could see myself continuing to do more of that. I've put on some events. Those are a challenge, but they're so rewarding to be able to do, to go out and meet people, like-minded people. So I always try to go to meetings where, like you said, I know I'm going to get a good return, but I also know I'm going to get some good face time with some people that, that are either ahead of me or peers for me, or, because we can all learn from each other to some extent, and elevate the community. And so that's, it's a hard
doing
one.
The things that you love too, that, that aren't emotionally draining, like mentorship at the Pathways, or, it's like fun. I don't know. It's fun for me. It doesn't feel like work. There's something that really, buzzes inside you when, you see that look in your mentee's eyes, and they're like, oh, I just got it. I understand it now, and I love that. I love being a part of the mentorship program at Pathways program. And, it kind of recharges you. So doing stuff like that that's dental related, but kind of not.
Yeah, I find that I learn just as much as I can teach. Anytime I'm in a situation like that, and obviously, clinically, I'm usually ahead of the students just because I've done so much work. But I remember what it was like to be young in implant dentistry and not maybe know as much. So I can still relate with a lot of people really well. But I learn just as much. Each surgery I'm a part of is a new chance to learn just as much as it is to teach. So that's why I love being a part of those types of things, because the people that you find at especially Pathway in particular, but other types, it's most of those people are in it for the giving. And you could probably make more money at your clinic, but that's not always what it's about. And I think it's so important to get out there and take as much education as you can from as many mentors as you can. And meet as many and pass it forward as much as you can, because I think only good things come from that when you do that. And like you said, you were given an opportunity with your smile, and I'm sure you've done plenty of charity cases where you've given stuff away. And it's just typically, unless you get burned somehow that you didn't see coming, you never feel good about giving your time and energy to somebody that really needs it and appreciates it and deserves it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, all right, my man. I'll tell you what, I think we should probably wrap it up here today, but I'll tell you what, we could do another follow-up call at some time. I know you're teaching at Pathways. You're going to do some online lecturing on some of the study club they have coming up. You're going to be out there working on your fellowship and ABOI. Where can people catch you if they want to find you, or how do they track you down somehow?
The best place would be on Instagram. It's at Akil Alexander DDS. That's AKILALEXANDER DDS. And I actually post a lot of case reviews and step-by-step walkthroughs of some of the procedures we do. So it's a great ecosystem to kind of talk to one another and learn from some of the guys that you're hearing on these podcasts. And it's been really cool, making new friends and commenting on the posts and getting new ideas. And follow me on there. I do a lot of stuff on there. And you can also catch me at Implant Pathway in 2020. And some details are going to be released soon, but I'm going to be speaking at a conference in Arizona next year called Shift. That's really looking at different shifts in our industry for the years to come. And one of the topics I'm going to be talking about is strategies to make full arch more accessible to all. #full arch for all. So feel free to keep on there. You'll see some stuff on the Instagram page with any updates on that too.
Sure, absolutely. Keep me posted on everything, and we'll always share it on our pages and stuff. I find myself always kind of forgetting about Instagram. I don't know if it's because I'm I just turned 30. I just turned 38 this last week, but I feel like I'm 58. So I feel like I'm kind of an old man, but I'm like, oh yeah, the kids are on Instagram. So I need to make a better effort at that. But yeah, I try to post a lot of cases on Facebook and do the same thing. And, would love to share anything you're doing, because I think you're doing great stuff. I respect and love what you're doing, and look forward to getting with you soon in person and continue on. So we'll stay in further touch, and until we meet again here, bud, it's been great talking with you.
All right, man. Likewise. Take it easy.